All right, what's up, my brothers? In this video, I'm going to be reviewing a 3-minute commentary from a gal who's going to explain why her last relationship didn't work out. The reason why I want to show this to you and add some context is because it's been described on social media as the reason why marriage rates are plummeting, because of women like this in this sort of position. There's some very interesting components to this. Let's watch the video together. I'm going to warn you, you might be a little bit frustrated. You may not like the vocal fry in this, but hear me out. Watch her take, and then I'm going to offer you some feedback. Check this out.
Story time on how politics ruined my last relationship. So let me set the scene for you. I was dating this guy. We'd been dating for 5 months. And in those 5 months, I was told by my friends, Zoe, he lives in Indiana. He's a Republican. I was like, politics don't matter to me. Boy, was I wrong. And so I was like, it's fine. I don't care. I'm going to get to know him first. We'll decide later. So then we kind of start talking about it. I'm a very liberal woman. So I am obviously... like very much everyone knows that I'm a liberal woman. My brother's gay, all my friends are gay, also like abortion rights, female rights, but anyways, so I would like always ask him, I'd be like, what's your politics? Where do you lean? And he was just like, well, like socially, I'm a liberal, but economically, I'm a Republican. Fuck that. Okay. Also, he was a 28-year-old man. That's the first red flag, because if there's a 28-year-old man and he's single, there's a reason that he's single. But anyways, so then I'm like, well, like what makes you, economically Republican? Because like I could give you a whole bunch of facts right now that prove that you shouldn't be. And he was like, all of his info is from his friends. And I was like, you get all your information from your redneck friends. Obviously you can't trust them. You need to do the research yourself. And if you do the research, I told him, I was like, I'll support you based on your decision if you actually research it yourself. Like I won't care if you're a Republican. But anyways, and so he was like, Zoe, I have much better things to do than research politics. Like I have way more important things to do. Okay, saying that to me is absolutely insane, but go off, king. I also just didn't care at that point. And so I kind of put it on the back burner. I was like, I can't take this right now. Well, then we get into a little spat a couple days before election day, and we almost broke up. And so I was like, nah, it's fine. I'll give him one more chance, blah, 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 blah. Well, then election day rolls around, and well, actually, before this, he was not registered to vote. He had never voted before. And he told me that he wanted to vote in this election. And I was like, okay, cool, do the research, but that's a whole other thing. And so the voter registration deadline was approaching. I could tell he was going to vote against me. Let's just say it like that. And so I was like, he is not going to make an educated decision on who he votes for. So guess what? I'm not going to remind him of this voter registration deadline. So then it passed. He didn't register to vote. So there we go. It was saved. He wasn't going to vote. I wouldn't have to deal with it then. But then we got into that little spat, and I was like, let me try one more time. Let me see if he's learned anything from me. And I asked him point blank on election day, I'm like, so who would you have voted for if you would have voted in this election? He was like, I would have voted independent. And I was like, do you know that how harmful and basically wasteful that is? And also like check your privilege by saying you're going to vote independently. And he was like, wow, Zoe, I cannot believe that you think my vote would have been a waste. Shut the up, because it is a waste. Look at Philadelphia. All those independent voters could have put us over the edge and could have helped Kamala win. That's another story. And so I was like trying to tell him, I was like, listen, that's harmful. You have to make a decision, because the way that our voting works, like the two-party system, is a joke. You have to pick a side. The independent party never has a chance. So you have to pick a side. And we got into a huge argument about it. And I was like, you know what? This is my last straw. Again, I'm a very liberal woman. I have to date someone that is on the same page as me, because I can't disagree with someone on something that is so important to me for the rest of my life. I fully respect Republicans. I understand that you want to vote that way, but for me, I don't want to marry you and I don't want to date you. So we ended it, and no regrets. I've been single ever since. It was awesome. It's been awesome.
Okay, well, I mean, the body language, the mannerisms, the amount of time she said there's clearly some kind of a personality disorder with some of the mannerisms and behaviors. But let me just have a quick look at some of the comments here. I'll just look at the blue check marks. This guy says, she's a liar. This is just her feelings manifesting a coping story. She just dated out of her league and refuses to self-examine. Back to her protected bubble. V says, yep, no man with a strong soul and building a worthwhile life is going to be spending any time with her. And Brian says she got dumped and isn't fooling anybody. A lot of other people are saying I couldn't even stand 5 minutes, let alone 10 seconds listening to her. Well, there you have it, guys. I honestly believe that this issue is not going to go away and is not going to get any better anytime soon. It's going to take a while for the situation to self-correct and improve as far as women wanting to get married. This is your typical liberal woman, and of course, just like as it's hardwired in a woman's DNA, they want a strong, masculine, virtuous guy, and those guys mostly are going to be conservative Republicans down in the States. That's what they're called. So she finds a guy that she's attracted to, wants to build something with him. She did mention marriage, and she proceeds to engage in a relationship with a guy that she absolutely knows from the get-go doesn't share her political beliefs and opinions with her. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you make single cat ladies. Honestly, these women will relentlessly chase the strong, masculine, virtuous Chad, but never get him to believe or subscribe to her almost crazy mannerisms and nefarious ideas around politics. I've said this many times that when a woman truly loves a man, when she is absolutely in his frame and has genuine burning desire, she starts to adopt a lot of his ideas, beliefs, policies, his musical tastes, even his political beliefs. But in this situation, you've got a gal who's absolutely upset to the point where she goes on an almost 4-minute rant, and I apologize for having put you through that, but goes on this long rant explaining why she broke up with this guy because he didn't want to vote liberal. She mentioned other things around Kamala Harris, she mentioned other things around abortion rights and blah, blah, blah. But how's that working out for the ladies? We're seeing the marriage rate plummet. We're seeing the age at which people get married get delayed. It was quite a bit younger many, many moons ago. Now I think it's about 29, if I'm not mistaken. But these women will continuously put off or go from guy to guy to guy, hoping that they're going to find a guy that looks masculine that they're attracted to, because that's what women are attracted to. They want high testosterone cues, they want a leader, they want somebody with a good job that knows how to make it rain, can make money, but then they also want them to vote liberal. They also want them to not be, in this case, this guy sounds like a libertarian, because that's what independent parties usually are. And she's right about it. Voting for an independent party usually doesn't net any kind of a positive result. The vast majority of the time, you're kind of throwing your vote away, so she's kind of right about that, unfortunately. But that's because of the two-party system that exists in the States, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And people's political beliefs are so hardwired in these two parties, I don't believe that's ever going to change in our very near future anyway. So what we're stuck with is these liberal women, and let's be honest, I don't know if they met in a club, if they met on a dating app. She's not an ugly woman, she's not an unattractive woman, but as you go through and you start listening to her talk and the like and the and she's tapping her teeth and doing weird stuff like that, you start to get turned off. You start to get put off. I remember seeing a comment in there, and one of the fellas said something along the lines of, "This is the kind of woman that I'll go on a date with and I'll ghost." And then they wonder why they get ghosted. Women will go out and get degrees, frame them mahogany, put them on the wall, apply for jobs that are in line with the career that they want to pursue, and make a very strong concerted effort to please an employer, which, by the way, is in the vast majority of cases still a man. So she's doing all this work to get a job, to get a degree, go and pay taxes, to work in an environment, usually a corporate environment, to go work for a man, to line his pockets with gold. But they won't go and do any of the things that would conform to, attract, and retain the kind of guy that she wants to be in a relationship with. She'll do the work to get the kind of job that she wants to get to earn the money to be a strong, independent woman, right? But when it comes to a guy to attract, to retain, grow, and build something with, again, she did mention marriage or family at some point in there, they're unwilling to do that because he doesn't see eye to eye with her on her political views. And until women change, women need to self-reflect. Until they understand that you need to attract what it is you're looking for by being that thing, they're forever going to suffer. They're forever going to go through life complaining about it. And I'm telling you right now, ladies, if you're watching this, smarten up. Like, knock it off. You want a high-value guy, you want a successful guy, you want a rich guy. They're not liberal. The guys that you're talking about with the political opinions that you have, they're soy boys. They're plugged-in beta males. They're weak, they're soft, they're agreeable. They're the kind of guys that women complain about. They're the 80% of guys that are out there that are mostly invisible to you women, that exist, that are the nice guys that will be a shoulder to cry on while you go off and Mr. Exciting, the conservative guy, the Republican, the independent guy, the libertarian, if you will. And the question I have for ladies watching this is, how is that working out for you? And for the guys watching this, men, you should absolutely never, ever, ever tolerate this kind of behavior from women. If that's the way that she's going to treat you in the dating phase of the relationship, before you even get to the in-depth commitment phase or the family phase of things, get out fast. Run, Forrest, run. Turn around 180 degrees and proceed to move in that direction as rapidly as you can, and don't look back. That's it. It's as simple as that. And you might get called all kinds of names. Why don't you man up? A real man would do this, that, and the other thing, and all this bullshit. And every time you hear a real man, anytime a woman opens up with a real man or why don't you grow up, some sort of shaming event or tactic, just understand they've lost. They got nothing else. So all they can try to do is try to shame you to modify your behavior, which again, ladies, I ask you to self-reflect and ask yourself, how is that working out for you? Because for the vast majority of women out there, it simply isn't. And you've got to update your belief system. The same way that you realized, if I want to get this job and I want to be an independent woman and have a house and drive a Tesla and decorate my place the way that I want, be a cat mom or a dog mom or whatever it is that you're thinking about to go get that job, you'll go and do everything to get that job. You'll comply with what the mortgage company wants to make sure that you can get the mortgage to buy that house or the condo or whatever it is that you're looking for. When you go and get the car loan, you'll make sure your credit rating is all cleaned up. You make sure that you comply with what the loan officer needs. You give them the proof of income, the last tax return statements. You're willing to do all of that to go out and pay taxes and line the government's pocket with gold, and probably a guy's pocket with gold that owns a company that you're working for. But for the guy that you want, the guy that you're telling us that you want to have a family with, to have children with, you won't drop your ridiculous and absurd demands that he comply and conform to your political belief system? Think about that, ladies. Gentlemen, don't tolerate this stuff. So on both ends of the equation, y'all both have work to do. Because I know guys that will modify their behavior, that might adopt her ideas. And you do not want to get in her frame. I'm going to wrap up on that note. There's a notion of frame in a relationship. In every relationship, the man or the woman enters the other's frame. Women are hypergamous. They need to look up to a man. They have to look up to a giant. They want to adore a man. And they fundamentally cannot adore a man that they have to look at or look down at. And that's what they usually end up with when they find these plugged-in beta males. So, ladies, you have a choice. Either update your beliefs, self-reflect, and figure out why you as a common denominator keep ending up in situations like this, or you'll forever be single, lonely, cat mom, dog mom, or whatever, and be in your 40s, 50s, and 60s and realize that life passed you by. And that's usually, by the way, when women start to realize and they come to the next epiphany where it's like, oh, I screwed up. Why didn't anybody tell me this? I'm telling you this now. Pay attention. I'm telling you this now. Don't make this mistake that these older spinsters make, where they make this grave error of trying to get everything out of this one guy that they're absolutely attracted to, right? The Chad. You're not going to find soft liberal values in a strong, masculine, successful, competent, resourceful. I can keep going right down the list. Everything that women want. What women try to do today is build a better beta. And men, it's incumbent on you. She comes into your frame. She adopts your beliefs. You'll start to see, if she truly loves you and she's a smart woman, she'll start to embed herself in your life, want to be useful in your life. Because once she does that, it's very, very difficult for you to get rid of her or to move on from her. And smart women know this. But this lady is not smart. You guys tell me what you think in the comments below. Pin in the top one, bunch of useful links like stuff to my book, consulting if you need me, or my community. See you guys later. Peace out.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.